My name is Mariela, and I am wearing a t-shirt that says, "The future is accessible." The t-shirt is black with white letters. It also has my handle, Private Karen. I am a tan woman of Dominican descent. I have box braids in my hair. Behind me there is a cream colored wall. It is an initiative for us to have frank conversations about disability, about accessibility, about the realities of being a person living in the world as a person with a disability. So over the next few weeks, we're going to have lots of really awesome conversations with people across the spectrum of hearing disability, with people across the spectrum of disability, sharing honest stories about our struggles, our wins, our challenges. So I'm really, really excited to be on this journey with all of you.
Hey, I'm Mark Miller. I use he, his pronouns, and I am hard of hearing. I have a mild to profound hearing loss. I wear hearing aids in both ears, and I am a hearing teacher in Brooklyn, New York, working with hard of hearing students in the school system, and I am the creator of the Hear Ye website, which is a news site for deaf and hard of hearing information. I basically update it a couple of times a week, putting up any kind of news that comes through that involves deaf and hard of hearing information in any way. It can be heroes, it can be bias, it can be advocacy. There are all sorts of different stories every week that are out there, so I collect them all in one place for anyone in the deaf and hard of hearing world who is interested. I'm about 6 feet tall, red hair, graying beard, glasses, 2 hearing aids. I'm wearing a button-down shirt that is purple, turquoise, and yellow, very thin stripes. It sounds really atrocious, but I like it. I'm sitting on kind of a love seat, and 2 pieces of art are behind me, a white wall, and one piece of art is something that my daughter made when she was much smaller, and the other is from an old friend who's an artist down in Nashville.
Question number 1. What does accessibility look like for you?
As a hard of hearing person, obviously the difficulty is not hearing everything, and accessibility means just having access to the words that are out there. So when you're on a train or a bus, being able to see what the next stop is. When you're in a deli, maybe there's some sort of captioning device that so you can understand the person behind the counter. Having access to the script of a film, because sometimes it's really hard to keep up with the captions, and you want to go back and try to understand. Oh, that's what they said. You can do that with song lyrics now, much more so than when I was a kid, and it would be awesome to be able to do that with TV shows and movies. So, I think that we've come really far, and I think that it's not going to be that hard, using technology to get us that much closer to a really inclusive environment for the deaf and hard of hearing.
Question number 2. Have you ever tried to hide your disability?
I have never consciously tried to hide being hard of hearing. As a kid, it was impossible to do that because I wore a hearing aid that was under my shirt, and it kind of created this big bump, and I had wires that came out of my shirt, and so it was obvious there was something going on there, and I feel like I kind of used it at the time in the 70s, robots were big and the Bionic Man was big, and so I could pretend I was hearing things, 3 rooms down, and even though kids knew I was just making it up, they kind of got a kick out of it, and that kind of helped shape me, I think, into feeling like I could just be whoever I wanted to be, because I couldn't be like everybody else, and that was okay. So I became really comfortable with that. Now, when I got to adulthood, I got hearing aids that go inside my ears, and I never really thought about it. I never thought about it as hiding it. But maybe I was. I don't know. So it was never a conscious hiding, but there may be something to that.
Question number 3. Who are your disabled role models?
As a kid, I didn't really have any role models who were hard of hearing. I didn't know anybody who was hard of hearing other than one of my sisters, and so we were just sort of forging our path on our own. One of the really cool things now is with the internet, I can find, a million people who are hard of hearing in any kind of job, and that's something I do with some of my students. Is I sort of ask them what they want to do, and then we find somebody who is doing that, who is hard of hearing, and just to show them, hey, is it possible? You can do this. Like, this is just, don't be stopped by this. Now I look up to some people like Cece Bell, who's the first person I've read her, El Defo, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is well, I lived through this, and this former WNBA player, Tamika Catching, she also wrote a book, and in the book she talks about how she deals with being hard of hearing and deals with other kids and that kind of thing, and so that's one of my favorite things is finding interesting people who also happen to be hard of hearing.
Question number 4. What advice would you give your younger self in regard to disability?
I would tell my younger self to ask more questions. I think, I never tried to hide being hard of hearing, but I just kind of figured along the way that things would just kind of work out. Like, I would figure it out, based on what other people were doing, or, in the book, or the workbook, or whatever. I would figure it out, and that tended to work out, but didn't always work out. And I think I would tell myself not to be afraid to ask questions, to ask more questions, to make sure that I understood the information, or what was the expectation. Even when I got into the working world, there were times when I'm sure that I didn't totally understand what I was being asked to do, and I may not have delivered exactly what they wanted because I didn't hear it precisely. And email was a gift to me, and to all hard of hearing people, because I could clarify, I could make sure that I was doing precisely what was needed. But I could have done that a lot earlier if I had just asked more questions.
Question number 5. Has your disability impacted your relationships?
Absolutely. It has absolutely affected my relationships. It's the kind of thing that you discover pretty quickly who is kind and patient and who isn't, and because you're going to ask people to repeat themselves. I think that I even might gravitate toward people that have certain tones of voice more than others because I can hear them better. And it affects friendships. It affects who you choose you're going to be your friends. When somebody is not cool about you misunderstanding something, then that's probably not somebody you want to be friends with. It affects relationships in that sometimes I need to move to hear other people better, and other people don't need to do that. So when my children are calling from another part of the house, I need to go closer or have them come closer so I can hear them. And other people don't have to do that. So it just takes finding people who are patient and kind. And that's really who we all want to be around.
Question number 6. What were your biggest challenges participating in student campus life growing up?
The challenges were mostly social. I mean, dealing with noise in a group and understanding what people are saying at the other end of the table, or, across the room. That was just pretty much impossible. I could kind of speech read what was going on, but that was hard. It can be hard to make friends in a group that way. And so my thing is that I might not have the best hearing, but I can be a really great listener. And so those situations were difficult in those group situations, and trying to understand everything that was going on. But it's sort of, I would always try to create a small group or a one-on-one conversation and really get into it deeper. And I think I really benefited from that, but it took a while to figure it out. That was working for me, and that the other thing I just wasn't gonna excel at.
Question number 7. What do you like about your disability?
What I like about being hard of hearing, now that I've been through so many years of it, is that it allowed me to be different. I mean, I feel like when we're kids, when we're really young, we're just who we are. It doesn't matter what anybody else is. And then we reach this point where we are trying to be the same as everybody else and wear the same clothes, and you just want to fit in. And then, as you get into your later teens and early 20s, and you're realizing, like, it's your individuality is what's cool about you, and I was allowed to be an individual. I could just skip through that whole trying to be like everybody else, because I wasn't going to be like everybody else, and it really allowed me to be creative and just be who I wanted to be. And I read a lot of books, and I wrote a lot, and I helped make movies, and rode my bike, and I could be and say whatever I wanted, and other people didn't have to accept that, but I was comfortable with it because I knew that I was different, and that felt okay. It felt good. So I like that about it a lot, is that it gave me the license to be different. And so I hope that other people feel that too.
Question number 8. How can someone become an ally to the disabled community?
How can someone become an ally? It's really simple. It's just about being kind. I think that's how anybody can be an ally to anyone, is being kind and patient. Is when somebody says some variation of what, could you repeat that? Excuse me, could you say that again? That you don't get annoyed, that you just answer the question. When you see that someone isn't understanding, you share what's going on. You share what has happened. It's really that simple. And I feel that way about, sort of this allyship in general, is people are people, and everybody has something. Everybody has some trouble spot, and we all just need to be a little more understanding of everybody's potential trouble spots. So that's really it. It's just being kind.
Make a donation to the Project Hearing page. You can do that by going on the Project Hearing website. All the funding that we raise, donations, workshops, is going to be used for the Hearing Access and Inclusion Conference. This is going to be our second annual conference. Last year, we got sponsored by Google, and this year, we need you to help us make the conference happen. Again, 100% of the money we make is going to go into making the future accessible and making sure that that conference we have in July on the 31st anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act is accessible to people with hearing disabilities. So go ahead and make that donation. Follow us on social media, and if you want to keep in contact, email us at hello@projecthearing.com. Until next time.
Want to follow up with some more questions? Submit them using the link tree in our bio and hear the response during our AMA live series happening every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Instagram and Facebook Live. Follow Project Hearing's YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages using the handle Project Hearing, and follow the conversation using the hashtag AMA Project Hearing.